Advanced English Arabic Learning Session 60. At least 5 detainees were rectally fed their meals as a method of behavioral control. Petty theft. Such a course of action would also be foolhardy. An appreciative audience. Anglo, a white, English-speaking American as distinct from a Hispanic American. The Thames. To roll out this product. Between disgust and pleasure there is a fine line. To rule out the possibility of redundancy. In evolutionary terms, human beings are clearly dispensable. She is coy about her age. He had a premonition of imminent disaster. He is suspended from work. What for? The strangest dentition is found in the vampire bats. Doping is very seldom accidental and always involves people complicit in the effort. It is highly likely that she is complicit in the criminal activity permeating this case. The press has been complicit in turning a blind eye to the event. The hapless victims of the disaster. I tucked into the beef and eggs. The entire war is an atrocity launched on the basis of lies. The room is dimly lit. Intimate friend. An intimate little Italian restaurant. That inexorable judge had passed death sentence on him and refused to grant him a reprieve. An intimate knowledge of the software. There are many things in life which have inherent dangers. His circle of intimates. Evil is inherent, an essential trait that determines how you will act in the world. His body lies in a crypt. I'm excited by what lies ahead. The court has an inherent power to enlarge a statutory time limit. I never tried to lie my way there. He's only in it for the tin, money. The tinkers live by mending pots and pans. They embody youthful exuberance combined with the wisdom of age. He got out the biscuit tin. She had opened a tin of beans. I caught up in their problems. I yelled, hoping my exuberance would break the language barrier. He was welcomed onto the pitch at halftime to receive a commemorative plaque. Similarly, in adverse weather, the vessel may pitch and roll. They huddled together for warmth. She huddled up close to him. They found their trust in divine providence to be a source of comfort. A huddle of huts. The suffering constrained by the sense of God's palpable absence. A gang of pubescent boys. I have some bucks socked away. I do not think it is prudent or provident to turn down this offer. Restaurants are top-notch. We have niche tourism. She was a discreet woman, and with great patience endured many afflictions. The essay describes affliction as a condition deeper than suffering. Stand down or fight me. The ripple effect of. They're accused of bilking at least 30 victims. Students are trying to juggle getting an education and working. He strikes me as a decent geezer. Many had to juggle work and home commitments in order to cope with the situation. Calls have been made for a change in the law on dangerous dogs after a boy was savagely mauled. A mascara wand. He was mauled on stage last month by one of his pets. An unequivocal answer. At Babylon there is a famous basalt statue of a man being mauled by a lion. I am following a hunch too. The time I spent with her has left an indelible imprint on my mind. His eyes were glowing with malevolence. To infringe individual freedoms such as the freedom to travel without fetter or freedoms of speech. Phantasmagoria. Don't meddle in matters that don't concern you, unless you want to face his wrath. Don't kick that hornet's nest. She also warned other nations not to meddle in China's internal affairs. How do I stop being a loose cannon? The ship's prow swung away from the aurora borealis. Like the tapestries and furniture, the picture hang was predominantly antique. Anna was awakened by the telephone. The driver told the passengers to hang on as the bus pulled off. He sighed but did not awaken. We rode to the lake where I saw 3 more horses tied to a peg stuck in the ground. He told her regale us. A deranged gunman. An erratically fluctuating power supply can wreak havoc on any system. Stress deranges the immune system. The exchange rate peg is gone. He is derailed by enthusiastic interjections from proprietary fans. The show lurches from one interruption to another. Let us unpack this question. A train was derailed after it collided with a herd of cattle. We could leave that onerous responsibility to fate or providence. Taxidermy. Tether your phone to my Wi-Fi. She returns as poacher turned gamekeeper. To charter a jet. The builders managed to knock the wall down. A litter of 5 kittens. To gloss over the biblical texts that were foundational to Jewish and Christian marital law. Idle men of great girth. The 4 seas that girth Britain. The people from accounts. I managed to restrain myself, but then I heard a suppressed giggle from the veranda. Money was of no account to her. They had closed early on account of the snow. By all accounts he is a pretty nice guy. The detective was explaining to me how it's extremely difficult to restrain someone without hurting them. They also began to experiment with new forms of anesthesia. Selective amnesia is a type of amnesia in which the sufferer loses certain parts of their memory. A drug with amnesiac properties that suppressed a patient's memory of painful contractions. She brought her meek little husband along. Your businesses don't conflict with mine. The splinter from the broken glass hit her shin, leaving a gash. A vagabond with no settled home. The broomstick snapped into 5 pieces, splinters flying everywhere. Matriculation requirements. But why are so many of us so ready to concede defeat? Litter disfigures the countryside. She invested a chunk of her inheritance in the stock market. A severe facial disfigurement. He will spend a chunk of his fortune promoting the election campaign. Our hunch is right. The ground and chunked beef products. A tangerine evening gown. Over 40 different strains of the germ have now been discovered. Sins that risk eternal damnation. Japan was earlier reluctant to accede to the treaty. Amid worries that the pact could constrain its security alliance with the United States. High-tar cigarettes. Things are terrible at work and people are cracking under the strain. Are you loaded or skint? The debate turned into a drunken farce. These phrases are the building blocks of language. The show is a dull and dirty farce. The problems of corporate governance are about much more than rapacious egotism. His audit is an idle farce. By abstinence from meat and sexual activity, the soul could emancipated from its bodily fetters. A diminutive figure dressed in black. Nick is a diminutive of Nicholas. Why I have to endure this farce? Medieval monastics sought to abstain from enjoying daily life, lest they prefer it to God. Your wicked machination. The signs portending deflation are all around for those who have eyes to see. Spare the rod and spoil the child. It portends the next evolutionary change in our political history. The demise of the parliamentary system. He is passionate about horses and breeds thoroughbred race horses. Alfalfa, the preferred feed for thoroughbred horses, dairy cows, and other livestock. I had to account for every penny I spent. The horse had been tethered to a post. Noblemen founded stables and became interested in breeding thoroughbred race horses. We are gonna try to work things out. The forensic evidence or lack thereof also proved to be a major stumbling block. He showed entrepreneurial oomph. Sales of thoroughbred horses continue to gallop ahead. The veiled suggestions that reporters of his ilk deserve better treatment. Our reply to this reader and other critics of the same ilk is that they seem to have ignored our initial argument. He may have done irreparable damage to his legacy with the disappointing prequels. The tap won't stop dripping and will need constant tinkering. Water is dripping from the icicles. At the table he tells a parable in which he offers a lesson for the guests and a lesson for the hosts. Flicking a lighter is easy. She pitched forward, tumbling down the remaining stairs. You always been so cruel to me. You brutalized me my entire life. You are going to place so vile. You will wish you were bricked up in walls. The program fell over once when I clicked on the wrong control. The end. Coming next. Session 61.